Is this thing on?
Are you ready, Matt?
You're listening to Box Office Bingers
with Matt Diaz and Ernesto Santos.
Good evening, folks. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
Box Office Bingers.
And the only way that I know how to do it is to find you a bloody good devil.
He's my friend. I don't have friends. I got family.
I can do this all day.
You know, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Yo, I'm Vin Diesel. For more than 100 years, there's one place where we all came together to be entertained. The movies.
I love that skit.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Box Office Bingers. Ernesto, it is time.
It's time for us to talk about family. So if you haven't figured it out by now, we are reviewing Fast X, starring Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jason Momoa, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Natalie, I lost the voice like halfway through the names, Nathalie Emmanuel, Sung Kang, Charlize Theron, Jason Statham, John Cena, Leo Abello Perry, Jordana Brewster, Brie Larson, Scott Eastwood, Alan Richardson, and Daniela Melchior.
Yes.
Okay. Directed by Louis Leterrier.
Leterrier. Yeah.
Director of The Transporter 1 and 2, The Incredible Hulk, Clash of the Titans, and Now You See Me. Great movie. I didn't realize that he directed that. Written by Dan Mazow, who wrote Wrath of the Titans, and Justin Lin, who wrote Fast 9, who was originally supposed to direct Fast X, but then stepped out due to creative differences. Oh, yeah, you wrote that. Actually,
I wrote Matt right there.
Matt actually wrote it down for me. But see, I just fucking ad-libbed that shit. I threw that, I dusted it off the old noggin.
I don't need your words.
But it was helpful. It was helpful to have that there. Because Justin Lin, to add to that, Justin Lin, who directed 3, 4, 5, 6, and Fast 9, dropped out. Wow, that's like over half the franchise. Yeah. And to the very end to say, you know what? I don't want to end it. It doesn't matter that I've invested all this other time into it. I had to.
And it's crazy because I remember him going on an interview and like a lot of people were kind of bashing the F9. And as we've discussed, if you want to go back 2 years ago, believe it or not, when we reviewed that movie, I remember saying that we regarded it as one of the worst in the franchise. It wasn't great. Yeah. In my opinion, it was crazy. It was definitely a step backwards in my opinion. Yeah. And I think what he wanted to do was kind of tone it down a little bit. But in this particular case, Vin Diesel has more power than the director.
This is my family. I end it the way that I want.
and so with that, he got he left the project and they brought in Louis Leterrier, and we're going to be talking about Fast X later in the show. So I am very much excited to have this conversation with you, Ernesto, because this I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
I'm interested to have this conversation.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so before we get to that, we are gonna be skipping what you're watching this week. Sorry, David. I know he loves that segment. But rest assured, we're gonna be talking about it next week. But before we dive into Fast X, we are gonna be diving into some entertainment news. And Ernesto, boy, do we have some entertainment news to talk about today. I know I guess we have a story that I didn't write down, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I know the second story is something that you're really excited about. I know it for sure. But this one you just brought to my attention right before we started recording. But Deadpool 3 confirms basically that it has begun filming amidst the writer's strike. Now that's pretty crucial because a lot of productions right now are on hold on production amid the writer's strike. And so, according to Collider, due to the contract that writers for Deadpool 3 have with the studio, actors have to follow the script to the letter. That means star Ryan Reynolds, whose constant quips are an essential aspect in his Deadpool performance, will not be allowed to improvise any lines during production while the strike is going on, which is quite crucial to what makes Deadpool Deadpool. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but this is a provision that they already had in place, which is really interesting. So maybe they didn't want they already weren't going to let Ryan Reynolds do it, or maybe he hadn't planned on doing it. I mean, it's interesting that it's something that was already like contractually there, or did they put that in kind of maybe knowing that a writer's strike was coming?
I don't believe so. I think there were every intention to go out of their way to, like, I'm sure there is a script and with every Deadpool movie, I'm going to assume here, but then you have Ryan Reynolds who's there he puts his own little quips on it, or maybe another take he'll do something different. The directors will give them freedom to kind of ad-lib certain scenes. And I feel like if I learned anything from the behind the scenes of the first Deadpool movie, at the very least, he was able to kind of do what he had the freedom to, change it up a little bit if it worked better for the scene. But in this particular case, he's not going to be able to do that. Now, while it is possible when the script was already written for the production to start, that's perfectly okay. As long as the script is written, they can still go in production. So technically, as of right now, Marvel isn't doing anything wrong here if the script was already there. But if they wanted to make any changes, and especially when he ad-libs, he cannot do that, which I feel like is crucial to what makes Deadpool Deadpool.
Yeah, but what kind of production isn't going to have script changes? Like, what if, once they start shooting and they start getting into it, they're not going to want to make any adjustments or alter story direction or anything like that. That's got to be a huge hindrance that they're going to put themselves on. I mean, maybe we will notice it, maybe we won't. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It also says that Marvel has already paused development on one of its other movies, Blade, which we already knew that, because of the writer's strike. And they're still in pre-production, so obviously they're still writing it. And so, yeah, they can't move on if they can't write more story for it. But I do find it interesting that I wonder... Now, here's the thing that I wonder now. If whenever the writer's strike is over, will they have to go back and reshoot some scenes because they wanted to use those lines instead? They just couldn't do it amidst the writer's strike.
Probably. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So I think Marvel is one of the few production studios that are moving forward with their production as of right now, at least with this particular project. Or maybe they can go by they're trying to not lose too much money. So they're doing what they can before maybe they can't anymore.
But I think it's great that the studio, that the writers, that they're all standing. I've seen a bunch of Instagram posts from like actors and directors that are all standing in solidarity with the writers, because they're finally realizing how valuable their work is. Like, they're literally the body of the thing that they're making. Like, without their words on the paper, they would have nothing.
Right, absolutely. And I know right now, I think by the end of June or July, there could be another strike for the Directors Guild if they can't come up with an agreement as well. And I know that I think in a few months, either around that time as well, the Actors Guild has not agreed on anything yet. And so if they don't reach an agreement by the end of June or July or even August, then they can go on strike as well. So at this point, the writer's strike is going on as one thing, but if other strikes are happening, then no productions can go, and you're going to have to make an agreement along all the different guilds in order for production to move forward.
And, I mean, rightfully so. I mean, with streaming, they're saying they're not making money, but then they're talking record profits. So it's like, what is actually happening back there? Like, there's obviously you guys aren't giving up everything. So we'll see where it goes. But it is interesting that I think, like, the way we regard actors we should be regarding writers and directors. Directors, I feel like in recent years we've kind of migrated to really noticing like who's creating the project as opposed to who's just acting. Like realizing how crucial great directing and great writing, how important it is.
Absolutely. And it's with the exception of certain studios, there's some movies that you watch and whoever's behind the movie studio wise, it doesn't matter.
No.
That's just you're just fronting the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Like at this point, it doesn't matter. What's more important is your writers, directors, your actors. That's what's on the poster.
Yeah.
You know, even your producers are on the poster as well. So like it depends how the project is going, but yeah, like these are important things and we can note it because the first thing I think of when I see a movie is like who directed that?
Yeah. And then who wrote it?
and then who wrote it? Yeah. And then for me, my next step is who did the score for that? You
true.
know, there's a lot of credits that are on there that contribute to the movie making process.
Well, then maybe what we'll see is a trickle down effect. Everybody's at the top, closer to the top, like the writers and directors, realizing, hey, there's maybe more of the pie that we deserve, and then that'll just trickle down, hopefully, throughout everybody to where it's more or less even.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, this is interesting. Again, this is a great reminder that the writer's strike is still actively going on. They're now in their third week, I believe.
Yeah, they just their third week. Yeah.
So
as of this recording.
As of this recording, yes, they've entered their third week into it. Yeah, right here. Yep. And so, the last writer's strike that happened back in 2007 lasted 100 days. So we're already 3 weeks into that. So hopefully it doesn't last that long, but some say it might, so which is unfortunate.
And maybe what we will see at the end of all this is maybe not as many productions because now they're going to have to pay these people more, but we're going to get more quality. We'll see like some kind of weed out effect. Like they're not just going to be mass producing stuff. And I think we're already starting to see some of that scale back. But I mean, once we get on there is going to be another side of this. Like once we get on the other side of the strike, I think it'll be the benefit for everybody involved.
Agreed. And hopefully so. Hopefully.
Well, as it should be. Otherwise,
as it should
what
be,
what are these people, sacrificing their lives to become creatives? That's not an easy thing that they're doing.
No, it's not.
Let me get off my soapbox. We can keep going.
All right. So moving on from the writer's strike, the rest of the news is brought to you by streaming services. We all got them.
Yeah.
That's the
at least if you're listening to us, you do.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you don't have a streaming service or any one of the streaming service and you're listening to us, you must really like movies that you don't want to watch. But regardless, we'll first start with the streaming news with Netflix. And we had talked about this particular conversation in the past, and now we see that they are moving one step closer to inevitably what might happen here. But let's talk about the story. Netflix's crackdown to prevent account password sharing has officially begun as the streaming service announced a new extra member tier taking effect in the U.S. immediately. So as of right now, Netflix said U.S. accounts who are suspected of password sharing will receive an email which says, in part, your Netflix account is for you and the people you live with in your household. If you want to share Netflix with someone outside of your household, you can use these features, and there's two that they listed. One, you can transfer a profile to a new membership that the other person will pay for, or the second one, you can purchase an extra member where you can share your Netflix account with someone who doesn't live with you for $7.99 per month in addition to the cost of the main subscription that you pay that will be paid for by the owner of the account. Netflix said it will start blocking devices after a certain period of time that attempt to access a Netflix account without properly paying. Customers on Netflix's standard plan can add one extra member, and those on the premium plan can add up to 2 extra members. Netflix doesn't allow customers on its ad-supported plan to add an extra member. Ernesto.
Well, that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this is where we're at. But they're going to see a weed out effect. And I've already seen some memes online that say, hey, you remember when Netflix kind of put Blockbuster out of business? There's a lot of other streaming services that aren't doing what you're doing. That doesn't mean that they're not going to do it now. I think that they're maybe watching from afar and seeing what's going to happen. Seeing that, are they going to see a bump in membership? But Netflix has already been on the decline. Like, there's not many. They get I mean, what's the main draw on Netflix right now?
Well, as of right now, the biggest show that was on there, and it wasn't really that big, was Beef. That was the last noteworthy thing that we've talked about on Netflix, I believe. After that, I mean, I think the next big movie that they have coming up is Extraction 2, starring Chris Hemsworth, which comes out next month.
Sure.
And right now they're having a pretty good run with The Mother, that stars Jennifer Lopez, but I think that has something to do with Jennifer Lopez and less about Netflix per se. But that was an original movie that was on there. But yeah, I mean, right now they're not putting out shows that are creating headlines, and that's what gets people to either keep your streaming service or to go up and sign up for it, because you have these big shows that are coming out. Obviously, the biggest to come out of that is Stranger Things,
which is on hold right now for the writer's strike.
Exactly. So that's not coming anytime soon. I'm trying to think of any big shows that are coming out, like upcoming seasons. And maybe Umbrella Academy might be coming. You know, that's kind of big for them. Sweet Tooth, which was a moderate success, just came out with the second season, but that's not getting any headlines. So yeah, there's nothing really on there at the moment that requires demand viewing, as if maybe like another streaming service might have. So, but the fact that they're implementing, and they're starting to implement to some accounts for now, this extra $7.99 per month, obviously the person is not going to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, they're going to make a decision. They're like,
right.
Either I'm going to pay for it because maybe it's cheaper for that person to be on their plan, and they can just transfer them the $8, or, you know, whatever the case may be. That might be the more worthy thing, or some other people might be like, fuck it, I don't need Netflix anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, because I'll tell you what, the people who are not paying for it now are still not going to pay for it then with this restriction on here. You know what I mean? It's like, they're not gonna be like, well, they finally caught me, I guess I'll pay $20 now. That's not gonna happen. So, like, I don't know who this is for. I don't think this is gonna go the way that Netflix wants it to go. Yeah. You might get some people paying the extra fee, but I feel like a good majority are not going to, and then you're gonna lose viewership that way. I mean, granted, you're not gonna lose any subscribers, because those were already attached to people, you know, you're already password sharing, right? So, like, if the person keeps their Netflix account, that doesn't affect the person who's paying. You're just going to lose viewing numbers. You're not going to lose the subscriber. So then what's the point?
Exactly.
Like, what help are you doing to anybody at this point? Like, someone's still paying for it. It's not like they're doing this illegally or anything. This is all within legal rights here. So, yeah, I really hope that other streaming services don't adopt this.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like there's a need for it. Me personally.
Yeah. Because now everybody in this next month is going to really evaluate, do I need Netflix?
Right.
Like, what's the point of having it? Like, if they're going to, like, it was beneficial when it was, you know, we can share with everybody. There's a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But see, now that it's so restrictive, it's like, well, now let's really evaluate your content then, if you're really going to make it that restrictive.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what comes out of this. Right now, I'm really looking forward to the Q2 numbers for Netflix, when they do probably announce that, like how much it either went up or down. And
Q1,
I'm telling you what, Q1, you're right. Q1 wasn't great. And I don't think Q2 is going to be any better, to be honest with you. But for those who are currently not paying for Netflix, that you might have to make a decision soon. At least at this point, if they catch you, because they said if they suspect that you are password sharing, maybe doing a good job and they don't suspect you.
What are your thoughts? Would you ever cut out Netflix? Would you be done with it? Would you be willing to go without it?
I think right now I can probably go without it and then come back to it. But as of right now, I'm on the side that it's within our household. Yeah. So it's not this right here is not really affecting us at all. So because we are paying for it, it's not like we're like, for example, Hulu, for example, we're not paying for. We're taking that from my mother, but we're also giving my mom Disney Plus, in which I pay for. So it's a trade in streaming services is what we're doing. So that's the name of the game that we're playing right now. But right now the Netflix account is under ours. So this doesn't affect me personally. But say if I was on the other end of this. Again, I'll say the same thing. If I wasn't paying for it then, I probably won't pay for it now, and I'll probably invest into like a month's worth or 2 months worth instead of committing to it for like forever and keeping this as on permanent streaming service basis.
Like a Peacock thing, like or not? Well, actually, no, not anymore. There was one. I remember maybe Peacock in the early, like when Peacock first came out. It was like, we want to watch this thing. All right, we'll do 1 month.
Yeah.
Or Paramount. Paramount was another example of that. Like we did when it was what was it called before Paramount? Was it CBS All Access?
Yeah, CBS All Access.
Yeah, we did that. We did that for a month, and then we were like, nah, we don't need it.
Yeah, you're good. And like I think some people don't realize that they can do that. Like maybe they forget. Like, oh, once I lock it in, I have to lock it in. Like, no, you can sign up for a free trial for a week, keep it for a month, $20, $40, depending on what you're paying for, especially Peacock. If you're doing the cheap $5 plan, that's what I have. I have the one with ads. It's like, it's $5. I don't mind doing extra $5 to keep Peacock around, but if anything happens, like that's the first one to go. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I don't use it as much, but it's nice to have it when it's there.
Yeah.
But there are some that I want to keep, like Apple TV Plus. They've been pumping out great content. It's $7.99 a month. I have no reason to get rid of that anytime soon. I like a lot of Disney, Marvel, Star Wars stuff. So I pay a year. I pay the year so I can, because I know I'm not going to get rid of it.
That's a better bang for your buck anyway.
Exactly. So like, I want to use that Marvel posters around here, Ernesto. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Marvel stuff. So yeah, like I feel a lot of benefits there for me to keep it. As of right now, we have well, now it's called Max, but we have Max through our AT&T plan. So you get it for free there.
No change. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, no change, right? We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, it's like we still got that. So like I think that will become a decision later if for whatever reason that goes away. It's like, all right, well, do I want to invest into that? Do I want to take another streaming service away? But right now we're gonna just live in that benefit at the moment.
HBO Max is Max is like if I had to choose between Netflix and Max, I would pick Max. I wish I could just call it HBO Max, but no.
I know, right?
It's just Max, and it's blue. It's actually our blue. It's like the same color blue that we use.
Yeah. It's almost like they copied.
I know, right? They're like, we want the box office bingers. Hey, we are in the same color scheme.
Just give us a show on your streaming service.
We got
right?
you.
We're good. You want the box office blue? We got you. We got you. But anyway, Netflix is now taking the first steps to crack down on password sharing. Who knows if this is going to last? Who knows if they might up the price? Or if they're really going to be serious about this? Time will tell. But anyway, we talked about this before, but it's happening. Moving on from Netflix, we're going to talk about Paramount Global has announced the launch date for their new merged streaming service titled the creative title of Paramount Plus with Showtime, which will debut in the U.S. on June 27th, establishing it as the company's top-tier streaming product without commercials and ads. Paramount Plus with Showtime will merge the content of both Paramount Plus and Showtime into one streaming service. As previously announced, Paramount Plus with Showtime, the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan will cost $11.99 per month, and at the same time, the price for the Paramount Essential plan without Showtime will increase from $4.99 to $5.99 a month. By the end of 2023, the company plans to officially shut down the Showtime app.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It only makes sense. It's just this is another latest of a smaller company getting gobbled up by a bigger one, and like, hey, we'll just add you to us, and we'll become this massive thing. Because then they still have the Showtime channel on cable.
Yep.
So that's not going away. So now just all their content is available on this other app that they don't have to manage anymore. I mean, really, it's a win-win. Like they're not really losing out. They still have their channel. They still have all their content. Now they're just in addition to this thing. And maybe that's why it's the Paramount with Showtime. But like, what if they keep adding more? Is it just going to be like a list of each channel they add to their service?
Yeah, and honestly, and they're not even, and I do like this plan because they're not even forcing you, like, oh, if you have Paramount, you have to have Showtime. It's like, no, there's an option without the Showtime feature, and eventually by, it looks like June 27th, it will be now costing $5.99 a month with ads. That's not bad, Ernesto.
It's really not.
That's not that bad at all. Even for $5, that's still not bad. I mean, it's jumping to $6, but I mean, that's only $1. I mean, and then if you want both, you're doing for $12 a month.
Well, let's see what this conversation is in like 2 or 3 years.
I know, right?
Because we've seen this before. Like, oh, they just bumped it up $1. It's like, well, guess what? Like, Netflix is now $30, and HBO Max is $25.
Honestly, when you think about it, Netflix is becoming lower and lower on the totem pole because, as we know with Max, right? And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but Max has just joined forces with Discovery, obviously under the new umbrella. Paramount with Showtime. Disney, as we talked about last week, will be merging their content with Hulu. Netflix is still Netflix.
Yep.
So, like, at this point,
there's so much content on there, and it's like you can't really fish. It's like some of it is great, and some of it is not.
Yeah. And it's funny because now, as Netflix was the big fish and other streaming services were coming out looking to, like, oh, we're just trying to meet up with Netflix. But now I feel like they're getting there. Give it by the end of the year and all these merging streaming services are coming together to be more, more cohesive with one another with all the properties that they own. Then, yeah, this is going to be an interesting climate. Like, where does Netflix stack up now? Does Max now oversee Netflix? Does Disney and Hulu get better? Does Paramount and Showtime get better? I mean, right now we have Netflix, Apple TV Plus, and Peacock, which are like the standalones. But if you look at Peacock, though, right, it's like, well, we offer live programming, we offer WWE content, we offer the entire USA Network. So, like, there's stuff on there that they've already merged. They're just not as well known as. They also have the entire catalog of the Hallmark Channel. So, like,
crazy. Like, it's like HBO Max was already like a huge content-wise app. Like, had all the DC shit. It's not, and now with all this, like, I don't know. And you're grabbing an audience that's like that. You have a truly dedicated audience that watches like 90 Day Fiance and like all those HD TV shows. Like, they're gonna oh my gosh, it's like it's the same thing when they took I think it was Young and the Restless off TV, and then now it's on Peacock. So now Peacock, you have an audience that is dedicated to watching that will go to the Peacock app just so that they can watch Young and the Restless.
Absolutely.
But it's you're getting that same audience, those dedicated viewers, that they're going to go back and they're going to be so much happier now. They go, oh, I can rewatch all my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
If they didn't have it already.
And Netflix has a, kind of climb an uphill battle because these other streaming services has that back catalog.
Yeah.
They can, get their other stuff, their channels and put them on the streaming service. Netflix, it was always, had an uphill battle of like, we're trying to create our own content, build our own brands, grab stuff that is not available on the other streaming services. So like, yeah, they're working harder, but they're also, I feel like they're a little bit of ego right now, but they don't realize that there are other streaming services out there that are just producing either better or just as much as you are.
And this is by speculation. Like, they came out as the original, the kings. Obviously, they ruled shit for a really long time. And in all these other companies who were on the other side, they watched them from afar and learned how they go, wow, that's a good idea. Producing original content. Oh, that
original content. Okay.
Produce our own shit. That's a good, man. That's really,
that's good.
People,
Great idea.
We don't have to rely on TV channels or the theaters. Damn. Let's create our own shit. And now they're doing it a lot better than Netflix is doing it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They have these bigger names, these bigger IPs that while Netflix's original content is great, I mean, Stranger Things, massive property, extremely expensive to make though.
Yes, absolutely. Like, in order for Netflix to stand out, unfortunately for them, they need another success.
Yeah. Like,
they need it soon.
like Mike Flanagan's, all his horror stuff that he has on Netflix. To me, that's a draw. That would be like a draw to do it because I don't know. We're gonna have to make some decisions in this house on whether or not we're still gonna be using Netflix on a monthly basis. And I'm leaning more towards no. That's the part. That's the funny part.
And you know what's funny is that Netflix lost Mike Flanagan. He's now
Prime, right?
He went to Prime.
That's right.
So, all right.
We don't need you. We don't need you anymore. Jeff Bezos said, "Hey, hey, you make good horror shit. Come over here."
Hey, you want to play with some Lord of the Rings too? Let's do this now.
Come on over, Mike.
Come on. But yeah, I mean, and even Amazon Prime, though it doesn't have a rich catalog, but like 2 shows already. It has right now it has the Lord of the Rings that did fairly well. It has The Boys that is just killing it right now.
Invincible.
It has Invincible, the marvelous Miss Maisel, just wrapping up Jack Ryan, is also wrapping up Marvelous Miss Maisel, but like they're in the conversation. Like when they get a hit, it works really well for Prime, and they don't even need it. They don't need it. They have the whole like on top of you getting Prime Video, you're getting Prime shipping.
Exactly.
So
it's like you get this whole other incredible service, and then they just fucking here's a streaming service for you.
Yeah. You know what? Everyone else is doing it. Why not? Here you go.
You know what else Jeff Bezos is doing? Shooting off rockets. Like he's barely in the streaming game, and he's still kind of killing it. Because that would be one that if I had to get rid of another one, I would think about Prime. But it's like, but I already have Prime shipping, so it's like I can't get rid of it. It's like it's already there, whether I wanted to or not. So like that would, even though it would be the next one subjectively to me on the list to get rid of, like it wouldn't be, because it wouldn't happen, because
and that's where they get you. They're like, well, you don't want to not have Prime shipping. It's like, well, I mean, you're kind of right. And then meanwhile, and then meanwhile, like you said, Bezos not even thinking about Prime. He's like shooting rockets up in the air, and then he's like, someone probably like before he goes up in the rocket, he's like, hey, you want Thursday Night Football? Yeah, all right, sure. Like how much? It's like billions. Like okay. All right.
Didn't they also do the CMT Awards? They did some other live. They live streamed some other live event, either some kind of concert or. I remember we talked about it.
I think CMT went to Paramount. Like I think they had that award show. Maybe the Grammys might have been on Prime. I'm not sure exactly what was on there. But yeah, I mean, they know how to do it. They're doing it well too.
They've done it before. I don't remember.
Yeah.
The big thing now is that Thursday Night Football's coming there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they signed like a 11-year contract with that, so it's going to be around for a while. Like
the whole
billions of dollars
is changing, which is especially with all these major changes. It's great to see that the writer strike is happening amidst all amidst these landscape changes, just like dynamically the way we even look at content and like just everything that's happening. Like I'm here for it. It's awesome.
And then also just a reminder, if you have if you have Walmart, their subscription service, it comes with free Paramount Plus.
That's right.
As well. So if you want to even bundle it even further than that, you can get Walmart Plus with Paramount Plus as well. I think it's just their what they call the essential plan, so you're not getting it with Showtime, but still, if you want to, it's another bundle.
It's the same.
We're all doing bundles here.
Exactly. Interesting.
So there you go. If you currently have Paramount with Showtime, it looks like it's going to be. If you don't have Paramount with Showtime. Because I think right now you can still do it. I think they're just making this an official now because they're already implementing this. Because I have Paramount as well as Showtime right now. And so it looks like it's going to cost $12 a month. Or if you want to revert it down to whatever plan you have and you don't want Showtime, $6 a month, half the cost. Anyway, so all that changing is coming. And while we're on the topic of streaming, just as a reminder, as of Tuesday, May 23rd, so... at the time of this recording, it was 2 days ago, HBO Max is officially gone. If we haven't already told you on this podcast already, another reminder, HBO Max is no more and has been rebranded into a new streaming service called Max, which will combine the content of HBO Max and Discovery Plus. The Max streaming service will require a separate download to a brand new app. That's the one we weren't sure of. I thought that HBO Max just would have been like an update on your phone. Like, hey, you have to update it, and then it would just be Max. Nope, they're doing a whole brand new streaming service. So if you haven't done so already and you decide to click on the HBO Max app, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to have to download the Max app and then re-sign in using your HBO Max account information. And then it will be right back where it was. And all your saved content and everything will still be there. It's like a soft rebrand. Like, it's doing less work. You just have to download the new app.
It looks like they just expanded the original app and change the color scheme.
That's it.
Because the functionality is pretty much exactly the same.
Exactly. Yep. I got the same thing over here. The Max streaming service, and I already said that, Max will feature 35,000 hours of programming, more than double than what was available on HBO Max. Max's expanded streaming menu includes the addition of hundreds of episodes from Discovery Plus shows. According to Warner Brothers Discovery, the service will continuously be updated with fresh content, averaging more than 40 new movie titles and TV seasons per month, which is crazy to think about. Max will continue to serve as the streaming home for HBO originals, Warner Brothers films, and now Max originals. Again, just as a reminder, Max with ads is now $9.99 per month. Max ad-free is $15.99 per month, and Max unlimited ad-free ultimate ad-free with the 4K Ultra HD content is $19.99 per month. So, right now I'm pretty sure, Ernesto, because first thing I did was re-download the app. I put in the information, make sure we're all good on that, and it is the highest tier. So it is the one with the 4K, which is what I was worried about. I was like, damn.
Yeah, because then what are they going to charge you for it? But hey, AT&T's got your back on that one, I guess.
That's right. Yes, indeed they do. And also, I was worried because AT&T made sense when AT&T owned it, like owned Warner Brothers. So like you get free HBO Max because your parent company was AT&T. So when Discovery bought it, I was like, damn, we're going to lose it, because it's no longer the company. But maybe that's an existing contract that's still going to be there, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Maybe it's like that for now.
I know.
They're like, fuck you guys. Halfway later, like, get out of here.
Yeah, it's like, nice while it lasted, huh? You got to pay up, sir.
Get out of here, see?
We want your $20 a month, you see? No more freebies, you see? Yeah, I'm done.
We need to stop.
But yeah, so I'm happy that this thing is still happening. AT&T subscribers, if you have the unlimited plan, you get the Max Unlimited ad-free 4K. Yes, we're good. And also, as per launch, Shazam! Fury of the Gods is now available to stream on Max, as well as other new programming that is coming throughout the month as well.
Which you should check out. It was a fun movie. We reviewed it.
It was a fun movie. We did review it.
It was fun.
We had Esteban on the show. It was a lot of good times. And if you're looking to see what is new to streaming, it's like, oh my God, you guys are talking about streaming for like 30 minutes now. Jesus. I don't know what's on the streaming service. Hey, it's okay. We got you covered. There's reasons. We know all these things. Because if you go to our social media channels on Instagram at @boxoffice_bingers and our Facebook page at Box Office Bingers, not only will we tell you what's new to streaming at the top of the month, we'll tell you every Friday. We call it New to Stream Fridays. We let you know every Friday what new content is coming to all of the streaming services. And then if you want a little bit more detail, we have it on a post of what is available, at least all the original content that's available on each individual streaming service. So we got you. We got you. It's all there on our social media channels. Go check those out if you haven't already. But yeah, so there you go. That's all the entertainment news we have for you guys this week. As always, and I will say this again, you can find all of this information on our social media channels on Instagram at @boxoffice_bingers and on our Facebook page at Box Office Bingers. We'll post all the latest and breaking news over there first, and then we'll come back to the show and we'll talk about it. But for now, as of right now, we are diving in. Ernesto, I'm ready.
Oh, I bet your engines are revved up.
Oh, man. Like we mentioned, we are skipping what you're watching this week. So with that, we are diving right into our spoiler review of Fast X, a.k.a. Family to the Extreme. Oh, man. Ernesto, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on Fast X?
Matt, it was not good.
Come on, no!
This movie was terrible. What do you
mean? What are you talking about? It was no.
What do you mean no?
I don't believe it.
But you know what it really? It's just these movies, because these movies are not for me. That's just it is because I remember the original one and I was like, oh, this is good. I like the original. But then we evolved, and what's actually really funny is Alan Richardson during the movie goes into this thing where he's making fun of the fact that we came from humble beginnings. But then over time, they've been able to do things like defy, like the movie spends time again, as we did in the last one, making fun of themselves. Which you know what? That's cute. I guess this, but I think what it is I think these movies are made for like tweens, like young, like not necessarily like teenagers, but not like little kids, like somewhere in that middle part, like a young pubescent boy, like a 12-year, like, you know what I mean, like a preteen kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, come on, the whole John Cena death scene. I mean,
a little cheesy.
A little, Matthew. He literally reverses his car rockets to catapult himself over, and he just holds this thing. He holds his chain and holds the ceiling. Goes, "This is for you, Dom." He just goes up in a fire mess, and everybody's like, "Damn, that sucks," and just fucking drives around him. I mean, because earlier, Dom threw his car into this giant bomb ball that almost blew up the Vatican and knocked it into the river. He couldn't figure something else clever out so that everybody could live. Or what about when he was telling his son to really feel the car? And then that translated into opening the car doors and doing some kind of spin move where he leapt from one car to the other car. These are things that happened in the movie. Like, I didn't make this shit up. Like, this actually happened.
I loved it.
I bet you did. I mean, it was just so cheesy. There was a couple of good fight scenes. I really liked Alan Richardson in this movie. I really like him as an actor, and I just think like it wasn't, to me, he was like the most he was the non-cheesiest thing about this movie. Even
That's
Jason Momoa was a little cheesy. I mean, like
a little. I
mean, the one-liners, like it was his weird outfit changes that he would go through in the movie. It was just, I don't know. It was a little strange, man. And then hold on, and let's not forget that this is not even a full movie. I feel like we only watched half. I literally watched the whole movie. I go, damn, this whole movie feels like an act one. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes of an act one. And like, there was no maybe it's a 3-part. It is 100% a 3-part. And it's already made its budget back in opening weekend. So it's definitely gonna, the second part is already greenlit, but they're more than likely gonna greenlit the final one. What the hell was Jason Statham's purpose in this movie? To find out that who's that? Is that lady his mom? And there's a lot of things that you have to. I guess I need to be explained because I didn't rewatch 9 Fast and Furious movies to lead into this one. Did you? Did you do the full binge?
I did not. No, that's way too much. That's way too much to me to keep up with. But I mean, I've seen them. But I just watched a 30-minute video that went over like broad strokes, just as a refresher.
I probably should have done that. Because it was, I felt, there was times I was like, I can kind of figure it out. Like, was it significant that we saw Gal Gadot at the end of the movie?
Yeah.
Because I was like, that's cool. Is she new?
Wow, you don't remember, do you?
No.
she was in 4, instead she was not in 4. She was in 5, 6. She was in 5 and 6. She supposedly died in the end of 6.
Okay, cool.
And now she's not.
And now
dead.
she's not dead. She's here
Like
to save the team. And
just like every other person who have faked a death, or we thought had died, but then they found a way to bring them back, like Michelle Rodriguez.
If it happened off screen, it didn't actually happen. AKA the whole team getting shot down at the end of the movie.
Right. Yeah.
And then my final this is the most egregious point that I have about this movie. The entire opening of this damn movie was a recap of like the whole franchise basically, and like we basically rewatched the end of was it 4 or 5?
5.
We've rewatched the end of 5. Like, what do we need? We don't like. I understand to give the homage to Paul Walker, but it felt a little forced to see him in the movie. And I like how The Rock was in this movie, but he wasn't actually in this movie. They just showed old clips of him.
So yes, okay. So you're saying a lot, right?
Because it really bothered me. I was like, why are we rewatching the end of this other movie with this? Okay. Like, we could have just gotten the movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes. You're gonna tell me that couldn't have been chopped down to like a 3 or 4 minute addition to what we already know in the past? Otherwise, why watch the end of that? It just like, you're supposed to just give us a little background context, not relive the entire moment again.
So with that, I thought the trailer did a really good job of like saying, hey, this is this person's son. I don't remember names. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't. I just know them by their actor names. We're just going off of that. But the villain in Fast 5, he died at the end of Fast 5, I believe. And so he had a son, keeping it within the family.
Dante.
Right? And Dante, thank you. And I agree with you. I don't know why we needed a full 10 minutes of a recap of the end of Fast 5. And I do agree with you that it's a little odd to see old clips of Paul Walker just to give us context that Jason Momoa was there the entire time. Like that whole 10 minutes was just to give us a different point of view that he was around during. Like they shoehorned him in here.
Yeah.
Like they retconned him. Sorry, that's the word. Yeah. They retconned Jason Momoa into the events that happened in the 5th movie. And for some reason, they needed to show all of that. I don't think we need to go that far. We could have seen clips of when we were learning about Jason Momoa's backstory. So yeah, I can agree with you there. That was a little much. Jason Momoa's performance was an interesting choice. It felt off the entire time for me.
You know what it reminds me of? Chris Evans in that as the villain in that other action movie we fucking watched. The one with Ryan Gosling.
Yes. The Gray Man.
Gray Man.
Yes. It felt, and honestly, you know what he reminds me of? Correct me. Tell me if I'm wrong. Jason Momoa is Dante, right? Dante was the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a cross between the Joker and Captain Jack Sparrow.
The Jack Sparrow I can see with his demeanor, like kind of just the way he was carrying himself and kind of.
Yeah.
But I could see that because of the psychotic nature of how he like got his crew. Yeah, yes. I could see that. It was. I mean, there were certain things I liked. Some of the action scenes. Some of the action scenes were really cool. Obviously, Vin Diesel driving down the Hoover Dam as it's about to explode was a choice, even though we saw it in the trailer. But
well, it's funny. I never saw that in the trailer. That was new to me. I guess I must have skipped that one because I never saw that moment in the trailer,
which I was forced to see. Which I just get so mad because I just got forced to see. I got to see like a detailed Flash trailer, another one. I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I watching this? Like, there's so much. You're telling me so much information.
So, as you know, I like to watch the first one. I like to get the vibe. I want to see a little bit of some. Now, the other ones, especially when it's closer to the release, I don't want to see any of it. And they keep putting out like main officials and final trailers and everything. You know what I do in the theater? I just close my eyes.
I'm gonna have to start doing that. Like, it seems kind of like weird to be like, what the fuck is that guy doing? Like, sitting there with his eyes closed and his ear covering his ears. But they're give us other trailers. Like, I'd rather watch another commercial for your theater than watch these extra main trailers. But the problem is the studios pay for them. They're paying for them to be pushed out, and these theaters got to get paid. So they're not going to say no. They're going to put on they're going to put on the screen whatever the company send them.
Yeah, I either look at my phone or because obviously I can hear it, but I feel like that's something I can live with. I can hear what's going on, but I really don't want to see it because the odds of me remembering certain dialogues from a trailer is going to be really, really slim when it comes to me actually watching it. So yeah, I just stopped paying attention onto the screen, especially for the big ones that I know I'm going to watch. And I don't want it to be spoiled for me, and they just put so much content on there. They just want you to, hey, go see my movie. Here's we're spoiling everything. The fact that they put the Hoover Dam in there, that's the final shot of the movie.
Yes.
Why would you do that?
Because we got to it, I said, "Oh, this is the part where he's going to drive down the dam as it's like kind of exploding." It's like I remember seeing this part. I said, "This is when it happens," and I was like, "Oh, there it is."
That's crazy. The giant ball. Let's go over some of the action.
Yeah.
The giant ball thing was probably one of the more ridiculous things that happened in this movie, for sure. Among everything else, I think that was one of the most ridiculous things of them just driving down, stopping this bomb going off, and it looks like that Dom's vehicle went out of that without a scratch.
Yeah, he was able to hook his car to a crane, flip around, and then hit this ball so it can not blow up the Vatican. And then he was like, "Oh, everything's good," and just fucking drove away like everything was okay. Like, no,
that car is not drivable.
How are you alive? Let's start there. Why is your car not exploded? And what is to say about the material on the outside of that bomb? Like,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I really enjoyed this movie.
I know you did, and I don't mean to shit on it so hard.
No. I applaud it. I really do, because like I know it's not for everybody, and I appreciate that. I know that we're only doing this episode because of me. Yes. This is a self-indulgent thing, and I appreciate it.
That's fine. You watch shit for me all the time too, so it's okay.
The thing I liked about this movie, and I think this was, I would say it this way: if Fast 9 was a step backwards, I felt like the story was all over the place. It really didn't really make any sense. This Fast X did a way better job with the story of it. No matter how ridiculous it is, I was able to keep up with everything that was going on. I think that splitting it into 4 parts helped with that a little bit. We were getting the action with Vin Diesel, or maybe pushing the story forward with him and Dante, and then we're getting the comic relief with Ludacris and Tyrese, and then we're going over to whatever Michelle Rodriguez and Sharon was doing, and what's the 4th one? And then we had, which honestly I think this is the best part of the movie, John Cena and Dom's kid.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Was like that. The movie is catered to like that little kid. That's who this movie was catered to, because that whole like buddy cop, like calming the kid down. I was like, oh, it's like a kid's action film. That's exactly like, how have I never not seen? I guess. But because it wasn't always that before. I mean, you look at Ja Rule when he's racing, I think in like the 1st or 2nd one, and he's like, you see girls with big asses, and he's Monica, a threesome, like, but they're 2 different feels, like completely, like you wouldn't even recognize that they were from the same franchise just by the style of how the films, of what they've evolved into.
Yeah, and honestly, you think about it, you can ignore the first 4 movies, because even though we're stealing characters who originated from the first one and the second one and the third one, those movies are totally different.
Yeah.
It started with 5 of like how crazy the action can be. And when you go back to 5, it's like, wow, that was pretty grounded. Even though they were racing a safe through the streets of Brazil. But you look at back that and like, no, you know what? Compared to everything else that's been happening, not too bad anymore.
But I think that was when maybe people were naive, like, oh, like it was still a racing movie, but they were like, oh, like I wonder, like the first time people watch it, because this is like, pre everybody on the internet as much as they are now. So it's like people watching, it's like, oh, I wonder if that is possible. And it's like, oh, that's total bullshit. It can never fucking happen.
Yeah.
Like,
no
it's
way.
Like, oh, come on, guys. Especially when he uses the safe to like whip the car around and then he kicks the NOS on. You're like, okay, like oh, it was a little crazy, and then it's been like that. It's like, you know what that's like? It's like Netflix raising their prices. It's like little by little. It's like every step just got a little bit, just pushing it a little bit further.
And they do. I mean, I think that's also part of the fun of it, and the reason why I lean into it. Like I think I was watching these movies at a different time, and now it's just a reminder of how like crazy this is. And not for nothing, right? For a franchise that's not originated by anything. It was just a movie. This isn't an IP. It turned into one, but it originated from a movie standpoint. And to have 10 films later, that's not an easy thing to do. To grow found its audience, for it to grow in a ridiculous way that it is, and to keep pushing that envelope the way that it does, I applaud them for that. Right now we're getting 11, possibly 12 movies at the end of this.
And I think that's what people love. People either hate watch it, and I don't really hate watch it. I just think it's so off the rails. But I think that's the point, is that they call it out in the movie. They realize how ridiculous they are, and that's because they bring in the audience in on the joke. Like, hey, we understand it's ridiculous. Like, if you're in for it, strap in. And look, this past weekend, according to Wikipedia here, is 348 million opening weekend as of now, like worldwide. But that's the thing, they've expanded they do better in other markets with this film.
Yeah, and they have, obviously. But I think it's just kind of leaning into like, hey, we're gonna sit back with a bucket of popcorn, and we're gonna have a good time with this, no matter how ridiculous it is. At this point, there's nothing they can do in this movie that's gonna surprise me, because they've already went to space in the last movie. So why am I gonna think anything different that they will do anything crazy? And the fact that they didn't go to space is probably a better thing. But I think they were able to finagle a story together that it was worth investing into.
I will agree with you on that. I mean, regardless, put aside all of the ridiculousness. I mean, the plot was interesting. Like, to be honest, I did not see the Alan Richardson. I didn't see that plot twist. I was actually like, oh shit, because I was so enthralled with all the ridiculous shit that I didn't think. I don't know. It just didn't occur to me that they would do that, and it was actually a good plot twist. So there are some good elements, but. Talking about like their success, Alan Richardson, he made an Instagram post that I kind of want to reference. So and I think it calls to the success of the film, because everybody in the movie, like, nobody's phoning it in. Everybody's having a good time. Everyone's having a good time. You could tell that the people on film, they are enjoying what they're doing, and I think that lends to success. So. He says, it's Saturday of opening weekend, and Fast X is already the #1 movie in the world. Thank you to everyone who's enjoyed it already. I don't think this franchise would be near as successful without the enduring love Vin Diesel has in his personal life for the themes talked about in the movie. I've worked on a lot of sets, and each one has its own unique personality, for better or worse. Some can be quite hostile to the families of the creatives involved in the film. This, and in parentheses, this has been true for me. Like they're seen as a distraction rather than a foundation. That kind of attitude can be felt by the cameras, I'm sure of it. Ultimately, this is felt by the audience too. But Vin makes every day on set a safe space for those who sacrifice so much to support what we do. My family has the wackiest life. Our boys are mostly homeschooled. They have to reckon with a new house or hotel every few months. We struggle to give them a community or friends. They will be stronger for it in the long run, I'm sure, but life in this business is hard on a family. Every time his amazing wife and kids were coming to set, he'd let me know so he tagged his wife and my boys could come and hang out with them. He'd send a driver to go get them from the hotel so they could relax on the way over. The memories they all made together will last a lifetime. Everything about the process of this film was cool. All that to say, I suspect Vin's real-life admiration for family is being felt and enjoyed by our extended Fast family around the world. Just want you to know what you're feeling is real. #grateful. That is I could feel the emotion in that statement. It felt very real, and the picture is of him and Vin and their kids in the back of this van. Like, you're gonna feel much better at work knowing that your kids are taken care of. They're not being stressed out. Like, they're having a good time. You're able to that's a smart move, because you know that creatively that you'll be able to flow much better without that worry on your head about your family. And obviously, family is important to Vin Diesel. He obviously he literally carries that brand through life and through the film. Like, that's the message he's trying to get across. So, you know what? As ridiculous as it is, I'm here for it. Like, even though it was bad, like, I'm here for the Fast movies. This post kind of encapsulates like what we need to see for the way that like Vin Diesel creative sets a standard for his productions. Like that should be a standard, or that should be an industry standard. Like you should be taking care of the families of the people who are working on your film.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, if they're happy, then you have a better attitude on set and they can put out a better performance. That's what this is all about. You know, the safety as well of everybody, but you're also doing these death-defying stunts. You don't want to be stressed out when you're getting, strapped up in the air and, driving all these cars and everything. You want to feel safe when you're doing so. It also just a testament of all these people are continuously coming back. Sure, they're getting a paycheck out of it, but like Michelle Rodriguez, Jason Statham, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Natalie and Emmanuel, Charlize Theron coming back, Sung Kang coming back. All these people are coming back, and they've been around for a while. There's a reason for that. They're making $1 billion franchise, and they're having a good time on set. So why not? Why not come back and do one?
Yeah, like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go do another Fast movie. Let's go.
Yeah, why not? It's making money. We got 2 additions, obviously. Well, we got more than 2, but Alan Rickman, I loved his character in the movie. I think he complemented it very well.
100%. I think and to me, I think is what his character and the way he portrayed it elevated the film.
Mm-hmm. I think he wasn't distracted. I even liked Brie Larson in this movie. I had no qualms with her whatsoever. Her role was brief, but she did what she needed to do. She was the daughter of Mr. Nobody, and that was played by Kurt Russell in the previous films. And we also noticed that Alan Richardson is the son of Mr. Nobody as well. Were they brother and sister? I believe so. I think they were brother and sister in the movie. No, I'm sorry. Scott Eastwood. No, that's also wrong. Scott Eastwood was like they call him Little Nobody. Yeah, that's his name in the credits. Little Nobody. He was like the, no, so maybe not. They weren't brother and sister. He was just part of a different, like a higher up organization. Alan Richman was as Ames. But regardless, even Scott Eastwood came back for a little small role before he got, I guess, out of commission, so to speak. Yeah, John. I feel like the inclusion of John Cena and Charlize Theron was just keeping that family together. Their impact to the film wasn't big, but they helped move the story along and get some other things going of how and also it just showcased that a lot of people are in it, how big this franchise is, how massive all these characters are coming together. And it's not easy. I mean, you can call this an Avengers level movie, so to speak, when you're trying to balance all these different characters that you've grown up with and you've been watching since the early 2000s. Where do you go from there, right? And how do you still make that interesting? And I think they still were able to do that in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Like everyone was being used to their strengths, and even Tyrese Gibson had a little bit of a moment. He's like, "I'm the leader now. I'm the leader." And then like they let him through these weird areas, and the whole thing with Pete Davidson was also a little strange.
Yeah, I mean his little weird cameo. I mean he was just to get his ass beat. Like it was why?
Yeah, I agree.
I guess just to give him a cameo, I guess.
Just to give him a cameo. Yeah, I mean, last year, it's honestly, to be honest, it's a better cameo than Cardi B in the last movie. I would much rather Pete Davidson than Cardi B. So, yeah, there's that. I think that scene was funny for what it was, but, it is what it is. And yeah, I think they were able to, again, play around with everything pretty well. You had the rematch of Han and, what's Jason Statham's character's name? Han and Shaw. Yeah, Han and Shaw. We had the rematch there from, which I feel like is like second nature at this point. That was like the end credits sting of F9 that they were going to reunite, and you had a battle, and then like with everything else, you're part of the family. You take a couple of hits, and then you start working together. It is what it is.
I like how they all fight. Their bones are all made out of steel. They all fight. Beat the shit out of each other and they get up like what didn't Charlize Theron throw Michelle Rodriguez into a fucking table?
Yeah.
And then she just got up like and then just climbed up the elevator shaft like, all right, see you later.
And there is like this thing with lasers, like this claw was coming after them and they had to go against that after the fight. It's like,
that was a cool fight scene though.
That was cool. I mean, even Charlize Theron, just because of there was a bigger fish out there. He's like, well, I guess I'm going to join the family. I got nowhere else to go. He just took my people. So, like, it's a little things. Like, all right, now Charlize Theron is part of the family now. What the hell? Everyone's part of the family now. Which I was more appreciative of, though, however, was that I feel like Jason Momoa, whether it be in with one more movie or two more movies, that he will hopefully just stick as the bad guy. As more people than not end up they were the bad guy in the movie. Like The Rock, he was the bad guy in 5. Friends by 6. Hobbs Shaw's brother, I believe, is Luke. Not Hobbs Shaw. Shaw's brother, because there was, I think, Luke Hobbs. No, that's Luke Hobbs. What was? It was, who was he played by?
You're asking the wrong person, man.
Sorry, hold on. I'm gonna take a pause here. Furious 6. The villain in Fast and Furious 6 was Luke Evans, who played Shaw. And that was the movie where they introduced that Letty was not dead after all. And so Luke Evans came in, and then I believe something happened with his brother. And then at the end of 6, they introduced Jason Statham as his brother, as well as Helen Mirren as the mother. Either it was in 7 or 8 they introduced it. But either way, you had Luke Evans, who was the villain in 6, and you had Jason Statham, who was the villain in 7. By 8, they were both part of it. Charlize Theron was the villain in 8, and then she was kind of the villain in 9, and now she's part of the family here. John Cena was a villain in 9, and now he's part of the family here. So that was the trend that you were getting at. And now we see Jason Momoa, which I don't think he's part of the family. He's out for revenge.
No, which I liked at the end. I mean, Alan Richardson made it a point at the end of the movie. He told him, he goes, "That's the problem. You think everybody just joined your family, and you didn't even realize that I would try to double cross you." And it's funny because I think the audience was like, "Oh shit!" Like maybe that's why it took us all for a loop. It took me for a loop because I was not expecting that, because that's not usually what happens. Like he's a part of the family now.
Yeah, and I think, again, for the movie being self-aware for what it is, kind of making fun of itself, it was also self-aware as like, yeah, this is the trend we've been doing, but we're going to go off of that a little bit. We're actually going to have a real villain this time. And I was able to go on board with it. I didn't like Jason Momoa's decision on his acting, but, it was what it was. And he was menacing. He was threatening to the family. Like, his
acting didn't even really bother me that much, because I felt like he was just playing the part.
Yes, fair.
Because I mean that whole scene, I actually enjoyed that scene where he comes up on Charlize Theron and he learns that he's got all their families held hostage. I was like, damn, that's some dark shit.
Yeah.
And then you just see the instant change, but in that moment they made it make sense. Like they made it work. And I think like that part of it, he played well. Just there was just too much extra theatrics with him. Like when they're rolling the ball and he's like, "Ooh, you guys are dark. We're gonna blow up the Vatican." It's like, "Ooh, you're not gonna go that way."
Yeah. Also, there was a whole unnecessary scene where he's talking to like deceased men in like a lawn chair.
Oh, like yes.
They were like rotting. Like that did not need to be there at all.
I think that plays into. I think you hit that point really well. Is that maybe some inspiration from the Joker? That I like.
Right.
Like now that you say it and kind of exploring it, it makes a lot of sense. Specifically that scene, since it, other than us seeing him talk to dead people, it literally serves no purpose.
Right. Absolutely. We have another. What's her name? Daniela Melchior, who played Isabel, who played, that's also Ratcatcher number 2, she just had a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, so she's doing pretty well right now. And she played the sister of Dom's baby mama, who died at the end of 8. Or in the mid 8, who was also introduced in 5. So it's a lot going on there.
But then what I thought I heard that there was a cameo from Paul Walker's daughter. Didn't she make a cameo in the film?
I didn't see where that was. I did read an article saying that there was a cameo from her. I didn't know where that was in the movie, to be honest with you. There was nothing that stood out in a way that this like, oh, this is a cameo. But yeah, I mean, even Jordana Brewster had a very small scene in like very small part in the movie where she was like fighting to protect. She was like taking care of Dom's son, and then the people infiltrated. She was doing a couple fighting scenes. John Cena comes in, kicks some more ass. She's like, I gotta go help Brian, and then leaves, and then the kid's with John Cena for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, so they still keep Brian, and that's so interesting that he's not alive in real life, but you're keeping him alive within the series. The series. And even in his send-off, he had already passed away at that point.
Yes, he did, yeah. Because right now we are 3 movies, 8, 9, and 10 he was passed away for. And like his send-off was 7. So and 7 made $1 billion because of it. A lot of people want to see his last performance. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's at this point it's weird if they decide to kill him off for no reason. I guess you just gotta, stick with it until the end. Like that is just like you made that bed, make a reference here or there, or you don't have to. No one's forcing you to make the reference. And
either way, it was just apparently it's okay. Jacob. So this is, I guess she's in the scene where John Cena and the son. Jacob has to get Dom's son Brian to Portugal. So they hop on a plane. However, a flight attendant she was a flight attendant.
Oh,
played by Meadow places 3 bottles of vodkas in Jacob's tray, indicating they're the drinks that Jacob ordered. I remember who she was. She grabs a nephew, then they go to the bathroom and they beat up the guys. Okay, so she was a flight attendant. I missed that.
The flight attendant. Yes, I missed it too. Also, that was ridiculous. Of him, like them just going in the back of the plane and going into like this raft thing and just
it became like this high tech fucking plane thing. You know what was really cool?
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. The whole play on like it's all about fast cars, and you go to John Cena and you expect him to have the truck, and you pull up in this little ass car with the raft on top. That's actually like a freaking like plane. Like it's like a glider plane. It's a boat. Like why don't you just take that thing?
Yeah. And honestly, I really enjoyed John Cena's performance in this movie because I feel like that's what even his whole thing with WWE, like he's playing to kids, right? The kids love him. And so even some of his movies that he's done, it's more for kid-oriented, content. And so now you have this movie, which he does pretty much the same thing, and he's a likable character. It's almost like I never believed you were a bad guy because your other movies never said you were like the bad guy, like this tough, rigid, whatever. But now you have his character's like a complete 180, and I think it was for the better. He had great scenes with the kid. It was like kind of just like I'm with Uncle John Cena. And it was great. And then like I think his sacrifice was a little cheesy. I didn't think it needed to be there. But it's whatever. It's whatever for the movie. I don't think he's dead. Like no one in this movie. No. They could have solidified it since this is the finale.
They definitely solidified John Cena's death. We did the slow-mo on his face right before his death, and then we sat on his car exploding with the other cars. If he's not dead, then nobody's dead. Then what's the point? What's the point even having death in the franchise?
Clearly they don't, because let's fast forward to our 2 end credits. Well, no, our ending and our.
So I'm gonna have to have you explain them to me because I had to walk. I had to leave. I had to go. I was like, there's probably an end credit scene, and I didn't watch it. Was there 1 or 2?
There was just 1. So the one with The Rock was the last.
So he was in the movie.
So there. You didn't see it because I understand. Okay, I'll explain the ending. So right now, obviously, Michelle Rodriguez, Charlize Theron come out of the little thing, and they're like, "Grant, where were they? Like Antarctica or something? That's where the prison." Yeah, and so all of a sudden, a submarine comes out of nowhere, and you see Gal Gadot. Like I mentioned before, that's a reveal because we saw her die in Fast and Furious 6. So now she's not dead. And she's back because she's no longer doing Wonder Woman. So now she's alive somehow. And I'm sure they're going to spend 20 minutes on explaining it in the next movie. The same like they did with Han not dying at the end of or midway through 3. Because it's all about the family now. And I totally forgot that Han was part of that whole crew with Ludacris and everything. And he's just chill, eating a couple chips like he normally does. Which was funny, whatever. So there was that scene. That was like one of the stinger. The next one was we see like these group of people infiltrating this area. They're all masked up, and then eventually they reach a computer room, and the person presses play, and basically Jason Momoa was like, "You were also responsible for killing the guy. I forgot about you." Blah blah blah. And then the person takes off his helmet and mask, and it reveals to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but he has gray hair now, like in his beard. The beard is gray, and he says a line that I don't remember, and so that's the Sting. So at this point now, which we all didn't think was going to happen, that because The Rock has been pretty adamant about, I'm not returning to this franchise, like I'm done. So now they probably backed up that money train or that money truck, and it's like just one last ride, Rock, one last ride.
I know you don't like it, but I need you to be part of the family.
So now here's the question, which I didn't really think about, so I started reading it online. Is this a teaser for Hobbs and Shaw 2, or is this for the next Fast movie? I believe it's for the next Fast movie, not for Hobbs and Shaw 2.
I don't know. I'm thinking because why would he make this big vocal statement about not? I mean, he literally responded to Vin Diesel like, I'm not gonna be in your movie. I mean, I'm broad stroking, but I'm pretty sure that was the gist of it. Like he made it very public that I'm not coming back. So my guess is that it's for I'm in the camp that I think it's for Hobbs and Shaw, just because of that whole. By the way, what was the point of that shit? What was the point of all that then?
I'm looking at his IMDb now, and as of right now, there is no listing of a Hobbs and Shaw sequel that's on here. Nothing that alludes to it. Like, I see a Red Notice sequel. I see that he's doing some Christmas project. I think it's called Red 1. There's a Jungle Cruise 2. There's a San Andreas 2, the live-action Moana movie that we talked about already. Nothing about Hobbs and Shaw. So, granted, it could be for a Hobbs and Shaw sequel, but at this point, I think this is what's going to happen. They probably made an agreement that The Rock can be in this movie, and he's not going to share any scenes with Vin Diesel. And I think that's how they can work around it.
Well, I just found in Screen Rant, apparently a day ago, has a comment. So Vin Diesel comments on Johnson's surprise Fast X return, dancing around his past feud with the star during filming of previous Fast and Furious movies. His comment below is, "We have such a great cast. We lead with love. We try to create an environment where people can do their best work. That's all actors really want, is to feel as though they are supported to create unique characters that last forever." And you see that in this franchise. That literally does not answer. That doesn't say a fucking thing. I mean, I guess Hobbs is going to be in the finale. I mean, they must have just given him the right number.
Yeah. And again, maybe he's not sharing a scene with Vin Diesel. Like, as we saw, Vin Diesel not have a screen time with everybody in this movie. Like, if you think about it, he not once did they ever. Well, I take that back. At the very end, John Cena and Vin Diesel were together. But for the majority of the movie, they had very separate scenes.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, when they're at the table with Rita Moreno.
Right. Yes, Marina Miranda, yeah. And then after that, a lot of people parted ways. They weren't really sharing a scene together. So it is very much possible that you can include him in this franchise to keep all the family together. And I think that's why they had The Rock and Gal Gadot come back to really solidify this is the end. Now, with that, Ernesto, I want to read, this was a story that kind of broke right before the premiere came out, and I want to read what Vin Diesel had said in the red carpet premiere. And where is it? I lost there it is. I want to read what he said at the red carpet premiere, because now that's striking a lot of questions that need to be answered. So he said this. I'll just read you the article. Despite reports that Fast 11 would mark the end of the franchise's long run, Vin Diesel let it slip on the Fast X red carpet that the finale could actually be a three-parter, ending the franchise with Fast 12. Speaking to a Fandango reporter at the Fast X premiere in Rome, Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez teased the possibility for Fast X to be made into a trilogy. When asked about the future of Dom outside of the Fast saga, Diesel said, going into making this movie, the studio asked if this could be a two-parter. And after the studio saw this part 1, they said, could you make Fast X, the finale, a trilogy? Rodriguez chimed in by teasing it's 3X in any story. As they walked away, they were asked if they were confirming the existence of a third movie to end the saga, to which Diesel replied with, quote, I don't want to get in trouble here, unquote. So
yes, basically.
So with that, and I feel like you might be surprised when I say this. Even though I always felt it was weird for the movie to end with 11 movies. 12 seems like a more round number in this scenario. But with that being said, after getting that cliffhanger of what happened in Fast X, I think they should just be one more and done with it. I feel like we're stretching it if we do another one after that.
Think about all the extra fluff that was in this movie. They could have literally ended it with this movie. They could have made a really tight action film and ended it with this one. But if they're gonna go for the stretch out, I agree. One more, but we're gonna get 2 more. So that means the next movie is gonna end on another cliffhanger.
Right, and that's the thing. That's the thing I didn't like. I was like, you're gonna do 2 cliffhangers? No, you did the one. And you have your finale. And honestly, this is my thing. I think they want to do 3, but they want to see what the box office numbers come back with. And if you think about it, yes, worldwide they had some success. But as far as a domestic record, it came in shy of what Fast 9 was on opening weekend. Fast 9 opened with $70 million opening weekend in the U.S. in the midst of a pandemic. And so now Fast X, when we're kind of a little bit out of it now, Fast X opened with $67.5 million in the box office. So that's slightly under what Fast 9 made. So that's not growth. That's kind of staying on par.
I would argue that's like performing under, because that's pandemic.
Yes.
That's when people were still afraid to go to the movies. And Fast X was one of the first big premieres to get. Fast 9 was one of the first movies to get us to go to the movies. So we're talking when people are even skeptical to go to the movies now. I mean, we've had Guardians. There's been so many other massive hits that we're back in pretty much full swing at the theaters. And to do those under what you did during the pandemic, that's not great.
Right. No, and that's why I'm thinking like maybe what the studio wants is not what the audience wants. You know what I mean? Like you could be getting yourself in the red if you want to push another movie. But also story-wise, they went into it knowing this was a 2-parter, Ernesto. So now you're telling me that they need to create more story when they've already made the 2-parter.
And
that right there might dilute it, even what it already is.
And they didn't even call it Part 1. It's not even called Fast X Part 1. It's just called Fast X. So what's the next one going to be? 11?
I think it would be called Fast XX, even though that's 20. But that's
not how those numbers work.
That's not how those numbers work. At this rate, we might even get to Fast 20. But I do believe that they should call it quits after the next one. You ended it with a cliffhanger. You got your returning players. You gave us a cameo that Dwayne Johnson's back and Gal Gadot's back. Is like there's nobody else to bring back. You did it. You did the job, and you've already wrote this as a 2-parter because the studio wanted 3 movies according to Vin Diesel after they saw the first one. So they've already wrote an end for this. So now they need to write another ending with a whole other 2 hours worth of movie. No. We're ending with 11. I think that's the way to go.
Or the money's gonna keep rolling in, and they're gonna say, "Hey, that one movie, let's make 2 movies out of it." Stretch that in. But the problem is that if you were to look at other Fast and the Furious movies, it's a complete story from start to finish. This isn't listed as a part 1, but it's not a complete story. It literally ends at like the middle of the movie.
Yeah, at this point, it really does. With the cliffhanger of like, we don't know if Ludacris and
the whole
Tyrese
team is
and everyone
in
are theirs. Yes, exactly. Except for Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron, they have Gal Gadot now, so they're forming their own squad to go help out everybody.
Exactly.
So and I'm sure Brie Larson's somewhere there because she's not part of the fold, so she can probably join them as well.
She just got shot in the shoulder.
That's right.
What if we see Jason Momoa? What if it opens up with Jason Momoa killing The Rock?
Ooh.
Because what if he doesn't want to do it? So Vin Diesel says, "Fuck you,"
yeah,
kills him in the next. It's like part of the finale. It's like
that's interesting. You know, it's also interesting. Some people might forget that Ryan Reynolds was in Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh, really?
He made a cameo in that movie, so he can also make an appearance as part of the family just to keep this train going. But yeah, I don't think. I think they should end it. And also, Vin Diesel has already come out and said that there are multiple spin-offs in the works for this franchise, including an all-female-led Fast movie. So, like, you're already in your mind thinking of how to expand this franchise. Let's end this one first, right? If you already have more in mind, just leave it at that. You already made this as a two-part finale. End that, and then move on with your spin-offs. That's the way to go. Don't stretch this out any further because it looks like you're already going to in the future anyway.
Just realistically, I think they should have ended it at 7. When Paul Walker had his send-off, that should have been, it felt like a very emotional end, and that should have been the end of the main Fast franchise, and then you could just have fun with a bunch of different spin-offs because you're at that ending point where the team's all together and everybody can go off and do their own thing. I don't know.
Yeah. But instead we've definitely...
They're milking
exploited this for absolutely. And you know what? Again, this would be going into my final thoughts here. I had a great time in the theater. I also, Ernesto, I didn't say this before. I watched this in 40X. What a hell of a ride that was. My God. So the seat was moving so much in any other 40X theater I've ever been in. And like my phone and my keys were coming out of my pocket. That's how much I was moving. And I had to take him out and put him like in my jacket because I'm just over here just like doing all this and I was like, oh my God.
But 2 hours of that was that comfortable? Was that good?
I had a good time. It's like I don't always use 40X as my viewing experience because I don't feel like every movie warrants it. But when I'm just leaning into it and like Fast is 100% that movie that I want to just have a good time with the 40X and like there's so much action going on. Of course they're gonna bring it. Like Avatar: The Way of Water was a different experience going into with the 40X when I saw that movie again. And it was like more like you're flying through the air. So you get more of like the sways and like a little bit of action here, a couple of bumps here. But when you're in a fast movie, it's just moving the whole time. Yeah. You're part of it. And I had a good time with it. Like I said, I don't think it needs for every movie, but I had a great time. And I think for lack of a better term, they stitched a story together that I was able to get behind. And at the end of the day, they stitched it all together. It was all about family as it usually is. And I think it was a better tie-in to kind of try to wrap all this up. I think they could have done a lot worse to try to wrap this up. And I think they have something there. And I can see why the studio was really into it. Despite a lot of people calling it some of the worst in the franchise, I didn't see it that way. I just see it as, it's just another ridiculous movie. If you can get behind that, I feel like you can open your door. If you can move past how ridiculous the movie is, then I think you can allow yourself to see other aspects of it to make it what it is, and like enjoy for.
I will agree with you, but I just think there's just certain things like that I just couldn't get behind. Like the whole That's opening, fair. At least for me, my final thoughts. Like, yes, it was fun. I could tell that the actors were having a good time making this project, and that actually works in its favor because I think like that's what it should be about. You're there not to like this movie's not gonna win an Oscar. Like that's not what. But it clearly knows that, and it understands that. And I appreciate a movie that knows how to stay in its lane. But just certain things are just a little, or even for me, a little over the top. Like you're already over the top. Like you could have just done it a different way. Like a perfect example is the Weird Al movie. That movie is the biopic. That movie's all over the place, wild and crazy, but it works. It works for it. But I feel like even within it, like there's certain lines that you just don't cross. And I feel like Fast says, fuck the lines. Like in this family, we make our own lines.
Yeah.
I think they need to. I agree with you. It needs to be ended. I think it should have ended on this one. But since this movie is technically incomplete, because it does not give you a complete story. You end with everybody. You don't know what your main characters are doing. Dom's literally about to die. Like the Hoover Dam is about to open up, and him and his son are gonna he's going to figure out how to survive, whether he surfs on top of the car or somebody grabs him. Somebody's going to live. The whole team, the plane will be destroyed, but they won't have any way to contact. Somebody might be severely wounded that they have to care for in the next movie, but they're all going to be alive. Like we know. I like the team up that we get between Jason Momoa and Alan Richardson. I think, to me, that was the most interesting part of the whole movie was Alan Richardson's turn at the end of the movie. Like, that was to me, that was actually a really good plot twist. I was actually here for that. So it's not very often that the movie can get me like that. Maybe because, and I think I mentioned it before, because I was just so wrapped up in the ridiculousness of the movie that, like, I was like, oh, there's some actual story here. Oh shit. Oh, that's right. Yeah. But I do agree with you. It was, like, story-wise, there was definitely more there than Fast 9. I mean, Fast 9, I couldn't even tell you what this is about. This, you can kind of get a general idea. Say, oh, well, this is we're following this story beats. So I'm on.
And it's much easier to get behind Jason Momoa. Is like his main thing. He's out for revenge. That's the thing. That's what he's there for.
So I'm gonna say this. So I remember watching the first one when it came out. If the next one truly is the last one of the main franchise, I will do an entire rewatch. I will watch the ones that I consider like the original trilogy, which is 1, 2, and 3, and maybe 4. I'll even include 4 in there because 4 is kind of like because 3 is kind of like a prequel, and really 4 is kind of like part 3. Like,
4 is part 3, but actually 3, if you're looking, so the actual timeline order is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 3, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Interesting. But they give you all these like cut scenes at the end, so we're like, it still makes sense to watch it chronologically, right?
Sure. Yeah. At this point, it doesn't. It's fine to watch it in chronological order. It doesn't change anything. The only thing that's really moving is 3. So instead of watching it in the 3rd spot, you're watching it in the 6th slot of it all, because Han is still alive in 4, 5, and 6, and then when they at the end of 6, when they reveal that Jason Statham was the person who technically killed Han, that was the end credit scene of 6, and then you reveal that Jason Statham is the bad guy, and then he's in 7, and then Han wasn't there in 7 and 8, and then they brought him back in 9.
And what was in 9 that he didn't actually die in the explosion, right? He managed to get away. Right. That's what it was. That's right.
Correct. Yeah. They retconned him to make sure he's still alive in a really stupid way. Like it was a really dumb. Again, I was not a fan of Fast 9. That's probably the only movie I don't like is Fast 9.
Well, we'll see, because if the next one truly is the last one, then I know you're gonna make me watch it. So to round it out, I will watch all 11 films. I may even watch Hobbs and Shaw, but I think you said Hobbs and Shaw it's actually pretty decent. It's actually the decent.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I agree. And I agree with you. If 11 is truly, in fact, like 2 years from now, 11's going to come out, and if that is the ending, I will also do a binge. But if it's not, then I'll probably just watch Fast X and then watch 11 again. Like as far as my rewatch this year, I didn't watch anything. I was like, I'm not watching F9 again.
I didn't even watch the recap. And you know what? For the most part, I was able to follow the movie. There were certain things that, like, I guess, main cameos that I didn't appreciate as much as you did, because I was like, cool, Gal Gadot's here. All right, she's on a fucking submarine. Let's go.
And also, you said it. She's in a submarine. You know it's about to get exploded. You know who just got the dam just got exploded. Who's to say that
we're in Antarctica?
I know. You're gonna put it past me that they can't get a submarine down there?
Oh, okay, but I mean distance wise.
Yes, distance wise. But who says that was in a linear fashion?
Oh yeah, it is Fast X.
It is. Who says that was happening at the same time? It was edited that way, but all of a sudden we can get it. Well, honestly, who knows how? Like, if we're gonna be immediately into the cliffhanger, or if there's gonna be a whole other scene or two before we get back to what Dom's doing, because there's so many things that are happening in this movie. I'm really curious how they're going to start this off. We could have a whole scene with The Rock is in the first 30 minutes of the movie before we see what's going on with Dom, you know?
I looked it up. So it's over 8,000 miles apart. So we'll see what happens. It's like 8,851 miles away between Antarctica and the Hoover Dam.
We'll see. I bet some time has passed, but I wouldn't put it past me if all of a sudden Dom's underwater about to die and Gal Gadot just comes and
they just, I mean, at this point, what are they just going to open a portal that goes from Antarctica right to the Hoover Dam? It's like, we built this transport to be in this exact spot for some unknown service thing that it just happened to work out.
Oh my god.
Plot armor.
So stupid. Plot armor, absolutely. Oh man. So there you go. That's our spoiler review of Fast X. I think I warmed Ernesto a little bit to the idea. I think you're pretty. I think I warmed you up a little bit to the movie. Yeah. Or I make you like it a little bit more than when we started. Well, this review.
Because I mean, I'm invested in the movie. You've made me become invested in this franchise.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
I gotta find one I gotta find something to make you watch like that. I don't know if I have anything.
Well, whenever you do, I'll watch it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna like Matt. You're like, Matt, oh, it's not that great. But like, Matt, Fast and the Furious. Yeah. I'm just gonna say family, and you're gonna be like, all right.
All right. Shit. All right. So tell those listeners what they can look forward to next week.
Next week we are going under the sea.
Under the sea.
And we're gonna see, is it gonna be more like Aladdin or more like Lion King? That's gonna be the I'm still really skeptical about that Flounder CGI and that Sebastian CGI. It's just it looks it's a little creepy to me. But I'm gonna be here for it. Because I'm curious to see how Haley Bailey does. So we're gonna have a guest on if everything works out. If everything works out all right, I'll be looking forward to having him on. But yeah,
I've heard early reviews suggest that Haley Bailey's performance is incredible. People love her as Ariel. People are really liking Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. So there's already some positive buzz going into it as we approach opening weekend. But I'm with you, man. The Little Mermaid. I don't know if
I'm on the fence. I'm
on the fence as well.
I'm on the fence about this one. Like, I'm not like super excited, only because like The Little Mermaid is not. I mean, it hasn't been that long since the other one was made. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're in the land of remakes, of live action remakes or live action retellings. So, sure, we'll see.
We'll see. I'll be happy if it turns me around. But right now, I'm kind of going in there a little bit skeptical of how I feel. I
am going in there with a little bit of side eye. I will say that.
Okay. I'm it's side eye, but an open mind. Like I'm open to it, but I'm a little
like
bit
I'm watching, but I'm like watching.
I was like, okay. All right. Okay. But yes, we look forward to. But either way, I look forward to having this conversation with you. At the very least, as well as our guest, if everything works out. But there you go. That's all the show we have for you guys this week. As always, you can find us on our social media channels, on Instagram at boxoffice_bingers, our Facebook page at Box Office Bingers, and our TikTok page at Box Office Bingers, and our Twitter page at Box Office Binger without the S. We really appreciate you guys listening to us each and every week. Just talk about movies, and you guys have a good time. We definitely have a good time doing this each and every week. Come back next week for more movie fun. You're not going to regret it. And for that, I've been your host, Matt Diaz.
Ernesto Santos. See ya.